So, again, thank you to all of you. Thank you to Reverend Gyoke Yokoyama. Such an honor to be here with all of you. And the history of this vibrant and important temple is amazing and beautiful. And it begins with the crossing of the ocean to come from Japan to the United States. Almost all of us here have traveled back and forth across that ocean and kept the flame of friendship alive. Our connections are our life. We are our friends and family, our teachers and our Dharma friends. They make us who we are. The teaching of the Buddha on spiritual friendship is very deep, very important. Shakyamuni Buddha taught that the most important thing in practice is to develop compassion. The result of the Buddhist path is wisdom and compassion. Compassion is the deep understanding that we are all connected in a net of friendship. In one of Dogen Zenji's writings, called the Bodhisattva's Four Methods of Guidance, he talked about 4 kinds of compassion: giving, kind speech, beneficial action, and identity action. These are all forms of caring for others, of melting away the barriers between self and others. About giving, Dogen Zenji said, quoting the Buddha, "When a person who practices giving goes to an assembly, people take notice. It changes you. Know that the mind of such a person communicates subtly with others. This being so," the Buddha said, "give even a phrase of verse of the truth. It will be a wholesome seed for this and other lifetimes. Give your valuables, even a penny or a blade of grass. It will be a wholesome root for this and other lifetimes." About kind speech, this is the second of the Bodhisattva's methods of practicing compassion. Kind speech means that when you see sentient beings, you arouse the heart of compassion and offer words of loving care. It is contrary to cruel or violent speech. In the secular world, there is the custom of asking after someone's health. In the Buddha way, there is the phrase, "Please treasure yourself," and be respectful when you address seniors. Ask them, "May I ask how you are?" This is the Buddha way. It is kind speech to speak to sentient beings as you would to a baby. Beneficial action, the third of the methods of compassion. Beneficial action is to skillfully benefit all classes of sentient beings without exception. That is, to care about their distant and near future and to help them by using skillful means. In ancient times, someone helped a caged tortoise. Another took care of an injured sparrow. They did not expect any thanks. The fourth, identity action. The identity, the feeling that there is no separation. Identity action means non-indifference. It is non-indifference and non-difference from self, non-difference from others. For example, in the human world, the Buddha took the form of a human being. From this we know that he did the same practice. He became identical with us. Dogen wrote that each of those 4 includes the others, so it's a total of 16 methods of compassion. Identity action with kind speech with beneficial action, and giving. Another way to think about our interconnectedness, which is so important to me coming here and being at Sozenji, the Buddha taught that there is no separation at all. It is a delusion. And one image the Buddha used is the image of a fisherman's net, a very huge fisherman's net that covers the entire universe. A net so big, nothing is left out. And in the net, the woven net, there are many little intersections of the rope, and at each intersection there's a jewel. So this is a vast, vast net. But the miracle of this net is that you don't have to travel long distance to get from one node to the next. The Buddha's teaching on the 3,000 realms in one thought means that you can go from any one point on the net to any other in a single thought. This is very important teaching for us because the Buddha made it clear that we can move from any point in thought to another point. For example, we can move from one point, a thought of delusion, to a thought of loving compassion in one thought. We can move from a thought of fear to a thought of non-fear, one thought. Very quick movement on the Buddha's net. Buddha wanted us to understand that peace and awakening are always right next to us, one thought away. Peace and confidence, happiness and ease, friendship are always right next to us, one thought away on Indra's net. It is a single thought from wherever we are. So this is the teaching that Soto Zen pioneers brought with them when they came from Japan. This is the teaching that the founder of Sozenji brought with him, Tom Kurai brought with him when he was here, a friend, a dear departed friend. These are the teachings that Soto Zen brings to temples when they come. A deep faith in friendship and connection. Celebrating these many decades of temple life here means celebrating the generations of dedication that have gone into sustaining this beautiful temple. We will also soon be celebrating 100 years at Zenshuji, and recently at Rinso Inn in Yaizu in Shizuoka, they celebrated their 550th anniversary. And very soon, they will be celebrating 700 years after Keizan Zenji's passing. So all of these are long periods of time, but I want to say something about friendship and patience now, because we're at 50 years here, and we'll be at 700 years. About friendship first, actually. In this one, the Buddha is walking along with Ananda. Ananda was the Buddha's friend, his cousin, and very devoted to the Buddha. He's famous for also having the best memory for the sutras. And eventually, after the Buddha passed and the sutras were written down, Ananda was called upon to recite all the sutras. He had memorized them all. And one day, Ananda was walking along with the Buddha and said he had realized something. He realized spiritual friendship, the friendship we provide to each other in our practice, is very important. And Ananda said to the Buddha, Holy One, Lord, spiritual friendship I see now is half the holy life. It's half of what's important in our practice. And the Buddha said, not so, Ananda, not so. Spiritual friendship is all the holy life. So our spiritual friendship that we're cultivating here, when we come to each other's gatherings, and even no matter what we do, we are still reaching out and connected with our spiritual friends, our Dharma friends. So patience, which is part of compassion, in our world today, there is a lot of difficulty, warfare and difficulty, and this world needs our Buddhist temples and our Buddhist teachings so clearly and so urgently. And one of the things that we can offer the world from our Buddhist temples is the understanding of friendship and the understanding and importance of patience. Our founders, Keizan Zenji and Dogen Zenji, wrote about compassion and wisdom, but for this I turn to the Dalai Lama and his teachings on patience, because the Dalai Lama particularly understood in our world today the harm that even a moment of anger can cause, and so his specialty is teaching us how to practice patience. In this teaching, patience can only be developed in community. Patience can only be developed in a situation where you're practicing with other people. When we practice in isolation, it's quite easy to be patient. It's only when we practice with people that the opportunities arise to develop patience. It's very important to transform moments of impatience into patience, but patience doesn't mean just passivity. As demonstrated in this temple, patience is active. It's a decided, resolute response against adversity. Patience isn't something that we accidentally do. Patience is something that we intentionally practice. So this teaching is one of the most advanced teachings. It's not that patience is learned by forbearance. Patience is learned by looking for opportunities to practice it. And out of our resolute patience, wonderful temples have sprung. Out of generosity, kind speech, compassionate action of all kinds, you have created a refuge here for everyone, and we are all very joyous to celebrate it with you. So thank you very much. I offer these words just for a tiny encouragement as we continue with this long journey toward the next 50 years of Sozenji, the next 100 years, the next 1,000 years of Soto Zen practice in our world. Thank you very much.